right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the week, Super Bowl week for the Kansas City Chiefs and San Francisco 49ers. And once again, how lucky are we as Chiefs fans to be in this situation, going to 4 Super Bowls in the last 5 seasons. Patrick Mahomes has been in the AFC Championship game every year he's been a starter in the NFL, and he's gone to the Super Bowl in 4 of those years as a starter. So if you're new here, welcome aboard. This is RGR Football, my show, Gridiron Lines. I'm Gary McKenzie, your ever so gracious host. And my show is part of the RGR Football Network. In my opinion, the best Chiefs YouTube content on the internet. So if you're new here, welcome. Hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and you want to keep up on all the juicy Chiefs news that we talk about, player evaluations, so on and so forth. Ryan and Dan do a great job, and then Seth's a part of our team too. So we've got a good crew. But let's jump into this matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. So much like the matchup with the Ravens, it's hard to find an angle with the 49ers where I can say, okay, yeah, if the Chiefs do this, they for sure are going to beat the 49ers. The 49ers are an incredible team. The Ravens were also an incredible team. And some might say, okay, well, by the transitive property of winning NFL games, the Chiefs should beat the 49ers because they beat the Ravens, and the Ravens destroyed the 49ers. But that's not the way the NFL works. And while that is an advantage for the Chiefs, that has no bearing on what's going to happen this Sunday when the Chiefs and 49ers face off for their second Super Bowl in 4 years. So it's the second time these two teams are playing each other in 4 years in the Super Bowl. So angles where I can say, okay, maybe if the Chiefs do this, it gives them a better chance. There's no definitives in this game, but I can say that if the Chiefs are able to hold Christian McCaffrey to under 75 rushing yards, that will greatly help their chances in this game to pull off a win. I say this because the 49ers were 2-3 in games this year in 2023 when Christian McCaffrey had less than 75 yards rushing the ball. So, defensively speaking, if I'm Steve Spagnuolo, I'm going to do a slightly similar plan to what I did versus Baltimore, where I sell out against the run and try to stop Christian McCaffrey, and then hope that L'Jarius Sneed can shut down Brandon Ayuk, and then McDuffie can do work against Deebo Samuel. So that's the game plan I would try to roll with if I was Steve Spagnuolo in this game. And the fortunate thing about the matchup between the Chiefs and the 49ers as compared to the Chiefs versus the Ravens is that in the Ravens game, there were over 50% of the snaps. The Chiefs had 2 spies on Lamar Jackson defensively. Whether it was 2 linebackers, 2 safeties, a safety and a linebacker, all throughout the game, the Chiefs were employing 2 spies versus Lamar Jackson. In the game versus the 49ers, the Chiefs don't need to do that. So they can focus on stopping the run while also, not having a single spy looking at Brock Purdy, although I wouldn't recommend that throughout the whole game. I would recommend having a spy on him every once in a while to keep him honest. So that's one thing working in the Chiefs' advantage in this game. So I think it's a better idea for the Chiefs to try to shut down Christian McCaffrey than it is to try to shut down their receivers, because between Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and Brandon Ayuk, there was no correlation between shutting them down and then how the 49ers played or how whether or not they won or lost the game. So when Deebo Samuel had less than 50 yards receiving, San Francisco still had a winning record. They had a 5-3 record. There's no correlation with Ayuk, shutting him out, and there was no correlation with shutting Kittle out. Now, the weird thing was that the 49ers are 1-2 whenever Kittle has more than 100 yards. So I think this is a weird stat because you'd think, okay, if George Kittle has a huge game, they should be winning. But I think the reason why they're 1-2 when George Kittle has more than 100 yards is because this 49ers team wants to run the ball. Their offense is centered around running the ball. Kyle Shanahan's offenses have always been built around running the ball, and his dad's offenses were built around running the ball. So this is a team that builds its foundation offensively on running the ball, and if the 49ers aren't running the ball well, they're going to be throwing it more. And so if Kittle has a whole lot of yards, that means they were throwing it a lot. They weren't using Kittle as a blocker. So remember, all these years of the whole discussion, okay, is it Travis Kelce or George Kittle? Who's better? We all knew Kelce was better. But the angle that the 49ers fans would always take is that, okay, well, George Kittle's a much better blocker. And that's how the 49ers want to use Kittle. They want him to be blocking. If Kittle has over 100 receiving yards in this game, I actually think that's a good thing for the Chiefs because that means Kittle isn't blocking. And if Kittle isn't blocking, that means that they've given up on the run and they're deploying him in passing situations, and they've gotten away from what they want to do. They've gotten away from their foundation. They've gotten away from their identity. So I know a lot of people were worried about the George Kittle matchup in this game. The Chiefs linebackers versus Kittle or Justin Reed versus Kittle. I'm not so much as worried about that as I am about the Chiefs shutting down the run. If George Kittle's catching a lot of passes, that means they've abandoned using him as a blocker. They're not playing to their strengths offensively. And so I'm not as concerned about George Kittle in this game as a lot of other Chiefs fans are. So moving on to San Francisco's quarterback, Brock Purdy. So Brock Purdy's 24 years old. And as you all know, he's Mr. Irrelevant, which basically means he was the last player taken in the draft, the year he was drafted. And he's kind of came onto the scene and come out of nowhere and has done a pretty good job. And I don't think that the Chiefs should take Brock Purdy lightly. He's in the conversation for MVP, although I think Lamar Jackson's going to win it. But even to be in the conversation is a pretty big deal. So Brock Purdy's numbers on the year is 4,280 yards passing, 31 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and a 69.4% completion percentage. He's doing a really good job of distributing the ball to his playmakers and then letting them do the rest of the work. So he's a very good game manager, and some of the throws he makes are in really tight windows. So he's very accurate as well as being a good distributor of the ball. And the 49ers team kind of goes the way Brock Purdy goes, like a lot of NFL teams. So in games where the 49ers quarterback, Brock Purdy, had less than 100 rating, so his quarterback rating was under 100, in those games, the 49ers went 4-4. Compare that to the Chiefs. So the Chiefs in 2023, when Mahomes had a quarterback rating under 100, the Chiefs were 5-6. So very similar. Both these quarterbacks, when they didn't play well, their team also didn't do well. That's pretty typical in the NFL. In fact, over my years of researching, win likelihoods and things like that, one of the strongest correlations with winning for a team was the quarterback's passer rating. So between Mahomes and Purdy, I think the quarterback that has the better passer rating in this game, I think that's going to be the team that wins. So in the playoffs so far, the 49ers have seen Jordan Love with Green Bay, Jared Goff with Detroit. And versus Jordan Love, they gave up a 72.4 passer rating. And versus Goff, they gave up an 88.8 passer rating. So pretty good for both quarterbacks. But as good as the 49ers defense did against those two quarterbacks as far as holding them to a low rating, the Chiefs defense has done even better. The Chiefs defense versus Tua Tagovailoa gave up a 69 or 63.9 quarterback rating. Versus Josh Allen in Buffalo, they gave up an 86.1 passer rating. And versus the likely MVP, Lamar Jackson, in Baltimore on the road, they gave up a 75.5 rating. So this is a Chiefs defense that is playing its best football at the end of the year. Who saw that coming with Spagnuolo? You know, he always saves the best for last. And I expect Spagnuolo to empty the kitchen sink on the 49ers on the 49ers offense in this game. We'll see if a young Brock Purdy can handle it. He hasn't seen quite as much as Mahomes has. He hasn't seen quite as many defensive looks as Mahomes has. And so I think that in this Super Bowl, experience is really important. And right now for the Chiefs, this is going to be just another game. They've been there so many times. They've done this so many times. This is Purdy's first Super Bowl. I think as far as the 49ers roster goes, they have about 10 players that are carryovers over the last 4 years, which is amazing. You know, the NFL teams churn their rosters this much. But experience is really going to play a role in this game, I think. And if I were Spagnuolo, I would try to shut down the run and early in the game and see what Brock Purdy is going to bring to the table, to see if he can handle the moment. It's not just that he's playing the Super Bowl. He's playing in the Super Bowl versus Patrick Mahomes, and teams, for whatever reason, well, I mean, it's a pretty understandable reason, but teams, when they're going up against the Chiefs, they get away from themselves. They stop doing the things that they did throughout the year to be successful. And part of that is because of Mahomes, but part of that's because Spagnuolo is dictating what the offense is doing out there. He's saying, this is what I'm going to give you, and you can try to exploit it, which you're an NFL team. You should be able to exploit it, so please try to exploit it. And the team ends up trying to exploit it, and it fails, and they get away from the game plan that they're supposed to be doing or the game plan that they wanted to be doing. And so they get off their mark. So I'm really looking for Spagnuolo to put forward a tremendous game plan in this game. And I think that this is going to be a game of two halves, because the Chiefs offensively have done much better in the first half than they have the second half, and the Chiefs defensively have done much better in the second half than the first half. Compare that to the 49ers. On the defensive side of the ball, they're pretty par for the course. There's not a big variance between their first half and second halves, but their offense in the second half is significantly better. So we saw this in the Lions game. So they got down big at halftime versus the Lions, and then they charged back, scored a whole bunch of second half points, and ended up winning the game. So this is an interesting matchup of second halves with Spagnuolo versus Kyle Shanahan's 49ers offense, where both units have played really well in the second half. And Spagnuolo has said that kind of what he's been doing, at least early on in the year, is that he has been lulling offenses into a false sense of comfort in the first half, playing fairly straight up cover two. And then in the second half, he begins mixing things in and creating a nightmare in the secondary, shifting, coverages, switching receivers, doing unexpected things, dropping players where they shouldn't be dropped. And so it'll be really interesting in this game to see who wins that second half battle. I think that the way this game will play out is that the Chiefs will get up by a touchdown or two in the first half, and then we're all going to be, clenching our jaws or other body parts in the second half while the defense holds on just long enough to pull off a Chiefs win. So I'm predicting that the Chiefs are going to win this game by a score of 27-24. I think they get up 20-10 at halftime. They score a touchdown in the second half, and then the 49ers come creeping back. But the Chiefs do just enough to keep them from winning the game, and we can all go back to, our normal stress-free lives after this really close Super Bowl matchup between these two teams. One other thing I wanted to talk about defensively between these two units. So San Francisco's defense was third in the league in 2023. The Chiefs' defense was second in the league in 2023. And one thing I want to say about the 49ers team is that they had a positive turnover differential. The Chiefs had a negative turnover differential. And the fact that the Chiefs only gave up, I think it was 17.5 or 17.3 points per game with the turnover differential that they had is unheard of. I think this could have been the best Chiefs defense, maybe ever, had they taken care of the ball. There's no doubt in my mind this Chiefs defense would have been number one in the NFL had they not had a negative turnover differential, had they forced more turnovers, had the offense not turned the ball over as much. And so if the Chiefs can keep the ball under their possession, don't turn it over, I think their defense has a shot to do something really special in this game. But if they turn the ball over, it's going to be a problem. It's the tale as old as time in the NFL. You got to take care of the ball. But I went and I looked at, these two defenses, and I wanted to see, the opponents that they faced. So in 2023, the quarterbacks that the 49ers saw were Kenny Pickett, Matt Stafford, Daniel Jones, Joshua Dobbs, Dak Prescott, P.J. Walker, Kirk Cousins, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, Jalen Hurts, Drew Lock, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Sam Howell, Carson Wentz, Jordan Love, and Jared Goff. So of those quarterbacks, I would say that, there's a handful that were pretty dang good. Kind of a similar docket to what the Chiefs saw. Similar level of talent that the Chiefs saw in 2023. But I think the Chiefs did see a slightly more difficult quarterback schedule. And there were 6 games in 2023 where the Chiefs and the 49ers saw the same quarterback, the same offense. And I wanted to compare how the two teams did versus the same quarterback. So Kansas City saw Jared Goff. San Francisco saw Jared Goff. Kansas City gave up 21 points against Jared Goff, although really technically it was 14 because they gave up a they gave up a touchdown to the Lions defense. And San Francisco gave up 31 points to Jared Goff. They both saw Trevor Lawrence. Kansas City gave up 9 points. San Francisco gave up 3 points. They both saw Kirk Cousins. Kansas City gave up 20 points. San Francisco gave up 22. They both saw Hurts. Kansas City gave up 21 points. San Francisco gave up 19. They both saw Jordan Love. Kansas City gave up 27 points. San Francisco gave up 21. And then they both saw Lamar Jackson. And Kansas City gave up 10 points. And San Francisco gave up 33 points. On average, between this group of quarterbacks that both teams faced, the Chiefs gave up 18 points per game. The 49ers gave up 21.5 points per game. So similar opponents, similar quarterbacks. The Chiefs were 3.5 points per game better. So I think that the Chiefs defense has the edge in this game. And I think that the 49ers offense should have the edge versus the Chiefs offense in this game. But I think that the difference between the defenses, even though the Chiefs are ranked second and the 49ers are ranked third, if the Chiefs take care of the ball, this defense is one of the better defenses that we've seen in a long time. And if you just look positionally at this Chiefs defense, I mean, this defense is stacked, top to bottom. You've got 2, all-pro worthy cornerbacks, L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie. Then you have Justin Reed, who is an underappreciated safety. He plays the run very well, and he does just enough in the passing game to be, to be good enough. And then a player that I don't think has gotten enough love with his Chiefs defense, but Chamari Connor. PFF had him rated as one of the best defensive players in the playoffs for the Chiefs and in all of the playoffs. He has very quietly stepped in as a rookie and played really well. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a big play versus the 49ers. He's been playing absolutely well. And, it blows my mind that this Chiefs defense is so stacked that you've got guys like that aren't even wouldn't even be part of the flyer, like the promotional flyer for the Chiefs defense, who are really good players. And at the linebacker group, you've got Drew Tranquill, Nick Bolton, and Willie Gay. Like, these are three starting caliber linebackers. They would start on any team in the NFL. And the Chiefs have three of them. Then along the defensive line, you've got George Karlaftis, who has really come into his own and is playing really well. You've got the best defensive tackle in all of football, Chris Jones. And then the only real weakness on this Chiefs defensive side of the ball might be, their opposite defensive end position now that Charles Omenihu has gone out with that torn ACL. And then their other defensive tackle, Derek Nottie, he's a serviceable player. He's a good player. So top to bottom, there are no weaknesses in this Chiefs defense. And that's how they've been able to get to this place in the season where they're playing their best football. And I think Spagnuolo is going to put on a masterclass versus the 49ers. Once again, I'm predicting the Chiefs win 27-24. Wouldn't be surprised if it was a lower score, though. If it was, Chiefs 20, 49ers 17. But I'm going with the Chiefs win. Let me know down in the comments. Who do you think is going to win this game? Would you put your money on the Chiefs? And do you think Spagnuolo's defense comes through in this matchup? But I am so excited for this Chiefs Super Bowl matchup. We get to watch another week of football. So I'm loving it. I know you all are too. Here's to a hard-fought victory, and may the better team win. Let's just hope the Chiefs are the better team this Sunday. This is Gary signing out. Y'all take care. Let's go Chiefs.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.